Hey guys. Hold on a second here. There we go. Let me turn that down just a little bit. No, I think that's about right. Maybe like right about there. Something like that. Hopefully that's not too loud. I've been kind of getting really into having like relaxing music. I've found some, if you guys haven't noticed already, with my last few videos and maybe my last couple of streams or so, I've found some pretty nice music that I'm actually allowed to play in the background of my videos and my streams and things like that. So that's been something I've been enjoying lately, integrating into my videos and, you know, my streams and things like that. So if it happens to be too loud, I'm really hoping it's not. It shouldn't be. I believe I currently have it at the level that I've been putting it in on my videos and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping that the music is not blasting you guys out of the room. It shouldn't be. But I never know. Sometimes it can surprise me a little bit. So, but we'll see. But yeah, man, by the way, I gotta say, I've been keeping track of things going on YouTube today. People are busy. I've been seeing a lot of the creators that I watch and enjoy putting multiple videos and streams and things like that out today. It's been pretty crazy. I guess today's just a good day to do it. It's Friday. I mean, you know, so that's probably has something to do with it, you know, just the fact that it's Friday and everybody wants to be, you know, catching that Friday crowd and that weekend crowd, which would make sense. But yeah, you know, it's been pretty interesting because I you know, in the last lounge stream that I had, I was kind of discussing with people that I was planning to take the channel in a new particular direction. And I kind of like it so far. I actually do. I know that it means, I mean, it's possible that you guys have probably noticed that there's been a little bit of less activity, just simply because there's a lot of things going on right now. I started a new job. I haven't actually worked any shifts yet, but I've had to, you know, do some work online as well as be on the phone here and there. So it's been making it a little bit more tough for me to be constantly working on content lately. But I still wanted to keep up with it. I originally had a plan that I was going to do some gaming today, but things didn't fall into line for gaming in particular today. So yeah, I just kind of decided that, you know, I got a little bit of time free and I could just kind of set up a lounge stream, like, you know, do one of my vlogs where I can just kind of hang out and chit chat about whatever's on my mind. And then I can, you know, go back to, after, you know, doing this vlog and kind of hanging out and relaxing and making something on my channel, I can kind of go back to working on the other stuff that I've been working on lately. So, but I have been pretty busy. I have been honestly, I've been doing lots of anime watching because that's kind of the new direction I'm taking the channel lately, is watching lots of anime and actually doing research, like not just watching anime by itself. You know, I have been doing some really interesting research on anime lately that has been fascinating to learn. In fact, I even, one particular thing that made me really deeply fascinated in a particular subject relating to anime was I got into this really interesting discussion with my father. By the way, if my father is either in here or watching this on the backlog, because he usually does, my father, he really likes to watch my lounge streams. He enjoys them, I guess. He every once in a while he'll call me up or text me and he'll be like, oh yeah, like I watched your lounge stream and I really enjoyed what you had to say about so and so topic, and then me and him kind of get into a discussion about it. But he brought up a very interesting topic that I had not thought super deeply about until me and him got into the discussion about it. And what basically happened is he was very interested in not necessarily talking about animation specifically, even though he knows that is a direction I'm going with the channel now. He wasn't specifically interested in animation, but he was more so interested in talking about the intricacies of watching foreign content, foreign movies and foreign TV shows, and having those movies and television shows, interpreted for English in various different ways. And it, at first I automatically started talking to him about all the things that I've learned over time about a lot of the practices in translation. And, it was very interesting because I've learned a lot about the process of translation, basically when having to figure out, why sometimes a subtitled anime can be so much better overall than a dubbed anime, or even sometimes vice versa, or sometimes they're on equal footing. And there's a lot of intricate and interesting processes and things that happen when you're trying to understand why sometimes one is better than the other, or why they're on equal footing. And so I talked a little bit about some of the research that I had done over time with my father about that. And what made it super interesting to me was he actually brought up a portion of it that I had never really thought about, which is the difference between translation and transcription. And that was something that I knew. It's kind of like it exists, but you don't really think about it or really talk about it or anything like that, or really wrap your mind around, because you kind of just automatically a lot of the time assume that they're nearly the exact same thing. And the more I talked with my father about it, the more I found that they're two very, very different things that kind of both require their own, research and understanding. For example, no joke, when I got into this conversation, because what happened was I was kind of going over all of the intricacies of, translation across language barriers, whether it's, the being able to translate something from Japanese to English. And I even talked about how there's also very frequently a big difference between a native Japanese speaker who learned English translating Japanese to English versus a native English speaker who learned Japanese translating Japanese to English. And there's a lot of very intricate losses in lost in translation, and grammar issues and syntax issues and things like that. And what was really interesting though is my father was basically saying that a lot of the time the biggest problems that he comes across when it comes to researching language barriers for media, whether it's music, movies, television shows, animation, whatever. He says the biggest issue that he has is not necessarily translation, but specifically transcription. And I kind of when he said that, it didn't click in my head. And I was like, well, now I have to go online real quick and I have to look up the differences between translation and transcription. And I had to find out, I literally had to look the words up, which basically says that translation, the definition of translation, is taking a piece of information, written text, something that is written down, and then taking that information and then basically interpreting it into another language, right? And it's well, obviously, that's very obviously what translation is. That makes perfect sense. But then I had to look up the word transcription. And it turns out transcription is you take somebody's thoughts, you take a concept or an idea that would otherwise be you would hear it, which is the major part of it. You would hear it. And then you would have to transcribe it. You'd have to interpret it into another language. So the literal difference between translation and transcription is that there's a couple of major differences, but the real big one is that with translation, you would take a piece of written text in another language, and then you would write it down and interpret it into a different language after that. So like a written script in Japanese and then rewritten as a script in English. Whereas transcription would be hearing Japanese, like somebody would be speaking Japanese to you, and you would hear that information, and then while it is being spoken to you, you are then writing it down in English, English sentences. And that was something that I didn't really think super deep about at that time. It kind of like blew my mind, because then I kind of had to think really hard about how often something like that occurs, and that's something I never really did very much research on. I'm going to take a break here because I did notice a bunch of people stepped in and are all talking at me, and I see you guys. I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts in about that particular topic because it's so deeply fascinated me. Scorpigeist, hi, glad to have you in here. Wrath of Wood, glad to have you in here. And Zoo, okay, what's up, girlfriend? Glad to have you in here. I'm glad to have all you guys in here. Scorpigeist says, it comes down to, unless you know a language yourself, you are relying on the interpretation of another party. Well, yeah, exactly. It just kind of depends on, like I said, like there's a lot of factors that go into it, which is what made that discussion that I had with my father so deeply fascinating to me, because he literally brought up topics that I had never thought of. Like I always basically kind of thought of the overall process as translation, and only using the word translation, but not fully understanding what translation encompasses versus transcription, which is a totally different form of doing something of that sort, interpreting one language into another, but through a completely different process that has a whole different level of intricacy towards it, as well as, details can be left out or things can be lost due to language barrier. And, it was very intriguing to me to, kind of discuss that with him, especially because, he started the topic based on watching one of my lounge streams where we were discussing it. The topic that he related to was when me and Ashed were having a discussion about the Flowers of Evil animation, which I still have not watched yet. Ashed, if you're in here, I'm sorry, buddy. Have not watched it yet, but I do promise to get into it. My anime list has gotten gigantic, because now I'm actually trying to use animation and researching animation specifically for the purpose of making content on the channel. Scorpigeist says, and that goes for transcription as well as translation. Yeah, I mean, it definitely comes down to, I just think that there's different levels of complexity to it. And, for example, it's kind of like the idea of dictation, when somebody is speaking to you and your job is to write down the words that they're speaking. I can barely do that in English. I'm terrible at that. If somebody wants me to, if somebody is telling me that I need to do dictation work, where I have to sit down and write down the words that they are speaking at me, I'm so bad. I've told you guys before that I have learned about myself over time that my process of learning things is through reading. I can absorb and understand material and learn things based on the process of reading, absorbing that information, processing it, and then reproducing it. But when it comes to listening to somebody, if I'm having to listen to somebody and be demanded to not only understand what they're saying but also reproduce it, my brain doesn't function properly that way. And I mean, that goes for a lot of different things. It's in relation to learning in classes. Obviously, I just mentioned dictation. Even when I'm watching television shows or watching movies, it's very hard for me to process the information that I'm listening to. But when I have subtitles, I can understand that information so much deeper and so much quicker. Because, I can read subtitles faster than people can speak the lines that the subtitles are. So, and I can also process the information and understand what's going on faster than those people can, speak the lines. So, dictation is something that I can't do. And overall, it's a different level of complexity. For example, I would say that if I were to learn a second language and my job was to pick between transcription and translation, I would think that I would probably be a lot better and a lot more efficient at the process of translation, which is reading something in a foreign language and then interpreting it into English, versus I would probably be terrible at transcription, which is listening to a language and then being able to write that language down in English, you know? So they're vastly, vastly different. And, you know, they're very intricate in different ways because they require different forms of processing information and then being able to reproduce that information in a way that is interpretable to an audience that doesn't speak or understand that language. Let's see. Ratherwood says, we talk in Japanese stuff. Yeah, I know. I got into this topic right away. Just, I don't even... that always happens to me. Something sparks an idea, and I, you know, go into it, and then I forget how I even got there in the first place. I did actually have, like, a major topic, which is obviously the title and the description of the stream. I did want to talk about social media a little bit because that was heavily on my mind today. Because I had a really weird moment with social media. I'm not a very active social media user in general. Let me keep reading the comments and I'll discuss the transcription over translation and all of that. And it might actually like end up being something I discuss in a video at some point because I found it so fascinating. And I legitimately want to do more research on it because I think that it would just be interesting to me, and I feel like some people would probably find it pretty interesting as well. Because I do kind of want to like research not only like animation, you know, anime and stuff like that, but I also kind of want to like learn about the studios that produce anime and do videos about that and like the production and you know, the animation quality and, you know, even translation over transcription would be something that I think would be really interesting overall. So let's see. Scorpio Guy says, and it is also muddied by the concept of localization. That I can understand as well. I do understand that sometimes with some languages, they have different versions of understanding the same language. Or they have different, like, quote-unquote accents or forms of slang or, you know, turns of tongue and things like that, so... your dad seems like a fun person to talk with. Yeah, he tries to come into watching the lounge streams, but he's also a pretty busy dude. My father is actually working on a what is it? How do I describe it? He's working on a subscription-based learning service right now that he's planning to make into a side business for himself, where he's creating learning videos. This is also me, you know, doing a commercial for my father's little thing here. So free advertising. It's free real estate. But yeah, he's doing a subscription service where he's teaching people programming, and my dad is a very incredibly intelligent programmer. And so he wants to kind of teach people. He's building a subscription service where you can subscribe to him for like a few months or a year or something like that. And when you subscribe to his service, he produces videos teaching people how to do programming and things like that. So yeah, that's something that he's working on. He hasn't fully released it yet. When I last talked with him, he was working on setting up advertisers and, you know, getting the stuff all set up. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to accidentally say the wrong thing and have him be like, well, actually don't say that because I haven't actually developed that yet. So if he ever ends up coming into a stream at some point and wanting to talk about it, that's totally cool. But he's a good dude. I love my father. He's a great man. I have a few books on Japanese, and even those make mistakes in translation for things like excuse me / sorry. Yeah, I can see that. I also have some Japanese language learning books that I have not touched in a long time. I also have a Rosetta Stone, which I used to study, but I don't really do that much anymore, and I really should. Maybe I really do want to get back into it. I feel like Japanese... I always say that Japanese is like one of the most important business languages you can learn, and I actually do think that if I learned Japanese, that would open a lot of different kinds of doorways for me, because it's a very business-oriented language, and it's probably one of the better languages to learn overall. Simply because it's just a good business language. Like, it's, you get involved with some of those large Japanese industries, and if you know how to like read and speak Japanese, and hell, if you can listen to Japanese and interpret, that's amazing, but it's just good to have as a skill, and like a business skill overall, and that's something I would like to learn at some point, but I just keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and I really should try to make time for it if I could. Scorpio Guy says, saying to Wrath that he's right, but at the same time, someone learning a language is more concerned with being right rather than communicating. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's more about the person, than the language. And I mean, I assume that's probably the point that you're trying to make, Scorpio Guys, is that, like, yeah, people just want to be right, I guess. As long as communication happens, everything else is processed. Yeah, I could see that. Zeus says, bro, I haven't posted anything in months. Yeah, are you talking about like on social media and stuff like that? I will be getting into that, because that was there was a weird like moment that I had today involving social media. I promise I'll get to it in a minute. Scorpio Guy says idioms are funny. Neko ni koban, it means coins for cats and is similar to our casting pearls before swine. Interesting. Like, that's kind of like a turn of tongue, basically. That's interesting. In the Japanese Pokemon game, Meowth's payday attack is called Neko ni koban. That's kind of funny, actually. I like that. He's a lucky cat. Yeah, he's pretty chill. Oddish is always cool. I love Vileplume. Vileplume is that's an old school favorite of mine, for sure. I actually originally wanted to play Pokemon today, but I just didn't have the time for it. I got too busy with a bunch of other things. I will be coming back to it. I really want to do more Pokemon. I want to finish out that whole playthrough. I really need to get on top of the video editing for Honey Pop 2. I've been really behind on that for a lot of different reasons. And I'm sorry to say I haven't made any progress with the next episode. But I promise that I haven't given up on it. It's just, like I said, I have a new job coming in and I have to get myself all set up, and I've been a busy boy. So I hope you guys don't mind that I've been a little slow on the Honey Pop 2 videos and things like that, but they will come back, I promise. I have not given up on it. I just have a lot of things going on right now. Also, like I said, I am, in general, trying to push my channel into a different direction. I really like the idea of talking more about animation and things like that, because I've been surprised to find myself coming up with lots of different kinds of content for it. And I even came up today I realized that I really wanted to do a particular video that involves animation, and the only way that I could do it is if I turned it into a proper series, so that way it kind of stands alone with a group of videos that I can do, and I don't have to worry about it affecting some of the other animation-based videos that I've done already. So that's something that'll probably come to fruition pretty soon. Zoo was talking about social media. Yeah, I promise. Yeah, I know what you mean. Hab's live stream career is a professional dogfighter champion. What are you talking about? Dogfighter champion? You're ridiculous. Fire breathing Vileplume is a fun build. Oh yeah, Sundance flamethrower Vileplume. That is crazy. That's something I haven't seen. Guys, a while ago, I had a blackout in my house, like in my apartment. We had a very large blackout all across the area. And I had a full battery on my DS, but nothing else was working. And I didn't want to play games on my phone, because if there was an emergency, I really wanted to be able to use my phone for emergencies. So I found myself playing some old games on my Nintendo 3DS, and I actually cracked open my Omega Ruby and just did some reminiscing and did a couple of Pokemon battles on Omega Ruby. Man, it was fun. I love that game. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, in my opinion, were like the last great Pokemon games. Like, I really think that. And it was fun just cracking open the game and looking at the last competitive team that I've ever built. My last 6-character competitive Pokemon team that I've ever built, and I was so proud of them. They still rocked it like a hurricane. They're amazing. Zeus says, I just like being private. I'm very similar. I'm also a very private person, which is why, my YouTube channel's kind of like my most public face. And it was really funny. Like, guys, when I went in for my orientation for my job, it was really interesting because, like, I don't know how to explain it. I just was kind of like doing my own thing, and like everybody was talking and chatting and chit-chatting, and like that's not like my thing. Like, if I'm going to talk, like I want to like get to business and things like that, when I'm doing that kind of stuff. And I kept things pretty professional and only felt like that I should talk when it was, professionally relevant for me to talk. And a lot of the other people that I was doing the orientation with were very chit-chatty, and which was fine. It's not like it bothers me or anything. Like, it's just that's not my jam. I mean, unless somebody directly addresses me, that's not kind of like, I'm not going to insert myself into it. And it was so funny because I had like multiple, like, because there was this point where when we were sitting at orientation for the job, and I told them what my position was going to be, which is a late night, stocking job in the back of a warehouse. And, multiple of them were like, oh yeah, like, you're the cool, quiet type, like you keep to yourself, like you're super private and you don't talk much, but you seem like you work hard. And I was like, I mean, I guess, like, like I don't really know how to respond to that. And sure enough, like I said, I don't know how to respond to that. So I was playing the cool, quiet type, I guess. Like, how you guys see me on my channel is, I think it's really funny because I feel like that and I've talked about it before, I feel like I act very differently on my channel than I do in public. I mean, admittedly, when I was younger, I was a very outgoing person when I was much younger. And then as I got older and just, over time kind of got quieter, kept to myself more, realized that privacy was important, and I kind of just, don't really go way out of my way to constantly communicate with everybody out in public, because I enjoy my privacy and I like, kind of keeping to myself. And I mean, like, I'm not unsociable. Like, I'm clearly not unsociable. But, I don't know. I just, I kind of adopted a mentality that it's like, I don't feel like I need to be heard constantly. Like, I don't think that everybody needs to constantly know what I'm doing, or I don't need to hear my voice constantly. I don't need to be constantly speaking all the time. Here I am on my channel constantly speaking. But when I'm in public, like, I don't want to be yapping nonstop, because, like, my overall thing is, like, I like being around people, but I also like to, like, listen, and I like to learn. Like, I like to kind of, like, and I'll speak when it's relevant, but, I kind of prefer, like, having people talk to me, and, like, I can listen to them and, like, hear what they're saying and, like, learn from them, or, like, learn what they're about or what kind of people they are. But me personally, I'm just not super duper crazy talkative all the time. That's just not how I roll. Let's see. I did kind of cut off Zoo's comments. So she says she likes being private, engaging in the moment rather than getting a pretty picture, and am not much for selfies. I'm not much of a selfie person either. Despite the fact that I do a lot of thumbnails with my face in them. I started doing that because I felt like it was more of an obligation rather than I enjoyed the process of doing it. For example, like, there's not tons of selfies on me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, because that's not really the kind of person that I am. I mean, you can see my face when I do my live streams. That's good enough for me. Like, you know, and I see my face when I'm doing a thumbnail that has my face in it, and that's honestly over the limit for me. I don't know. I'm not a super social media oriented kind of person. Like, it's really not my kind of thing. But the thing is that, and that's kind of what part of the stream is about as well, is that, like, I kind of am trying. Like, I'm trying to be more social media oriented. Because I feel like that's an important part of what I'm trying to do here on my channel. Like, you know, like, I have to accept the fact that, you know, my channel is me, and, like, I'm presenting myself to people, and I have to kind of get my face and my opinions and my overall outlook out there to people for them to enjoy. So I'm kind of trying to force myself to be more active on social media, but I'm trying to do it, like, on my own terms. So, like, basically responding to things when I really feel like that I have a proper opinion on it. And that's also tough for me because sometimes I also kind of come back at myself and say, like, oh, I don't think that that's a proper thing to be saying, even though it's fine, you know? And like I said, there was something that came up this morning that made me think about that a lot. Streaming is annoying sometimes. Yeah, it can be. I mean, I kind of like it. I do kind of like streaming. But I'm also trying to kind of lessen how much I stream. I'm kind of trying to increase my productivity on videos and lessen the amount of streaming overall. And like I said, like, I'm kind of trying to go in the direction of, like, I stream because I want to, not because it's productive on my channel. Like, and that's how I feel, like, with this stream in particular. Like, I am here doing the stream because I genuinely wanted to do this, you know? Like, it's not necessarily because I felt like I was forced to make content or something like that. Like, that's not what this is about. But I did feel like that I genuinely wanted to, like, hang out with you guys. And that's kind of like what the direction I'm trying to take with my streaming. Is not necessarily trying to say, like, oh, I'm doing it because it's content. I'm trying to take streaming in the direction of, I'm here because I want to be here. And then I'm kind of trying to take my creation of videos as, this is the content that I want to produce and I want to share with people. So that's kind of like the mindset that I've been kind of trying to go with lately. I mean, but I've never really felt like that streaming is annoying, though. Like, it hasn't, like, if the idea of streaming is annoying, I just don't do it, you know? And there have been days like that. Like, there are days where I'm like, oh, well, I could stream, and I'm like, but I really don't want to. Like, I really don't want to stream today, so I don't. You know, like, I try my best to not force myself to stream when I feel like that I really don't want to do it. And I mean, what's been really nice is what's happened a couple of times is I've had days where I'd be like, I could stream, and I was like, I'm not in the mood to stream today. And then what I do is, like, I say to myself, well, I'm not in the mood to stream, but I want to be productive. So what can I do? And then sometimes I go and I make a video. Like, that's actually happened. When I did the Mushoku Tensei video, that was a video that happened because of that circumstance. I had a day where I was like, I could stream, and I'm like, but I don't want to stream. I really don't. And then I was like, but you know what I do want to do? I want to make this video. And that's what I did. And then I made the video and I put it out on YouTube, and it's doing really well, by the way. Like, which is super cool. Haven't quite figured out how to reproduce that, though. I feel like that video got super lucky. Like, I've tried a few different things to kind of, like, see if I can kind of reproduce how that video was made, and I've now kind of come to the conclusion with it that was just luck, I think. Like, but I do want to, like, still make more videos like it, you know, like, because Mushoku Tensei was something I did out of passion. Like, that's why I made that video. And then I did the video about, which I love, by the way. I did the So I'm a Spider, So What video. I love doing that video. That was so fun for me. And I did that because I was passionate about it. And then I did the slime video, which was, it was a combination of things. Like, I was passionate. I did want to, like, really talk about that series, especially because I marathoned the entire series just so I could talk about it. And, but I will also admit that I did a bunch of things with that video where I was intentionally trying to reproduce the success of the Mushoku Tensei video. And I don't think it worked, but it's not a failure because I still got to do what I enjoyed, and that makes me happy. So the video's not a failure, I just wasn't able to reproduce the same success, which is fine. And I mean, that's how I'm going to keep doing it, is I want to keep going in this direction with talking about animation. And I want to keep making videos that I'm passionate about. I want to keep honing it, and like I do really want to kind of like orient my channel in that kind of direction and see what happens. So as long as I'm pleased with it and like it makes me feel good and I feel like I put a decent amount of effort into it, that I'm not going to stop doing it, you know? Pokemon, it is essentially a game about dogfighting for money. Yeah, I mean, like, you should be saying, you know, cockfighting. It is a lot like a cockfighting simulator, if you think about it. I think I remember once, like, hearing that somebody say that it's Darwinism and cockfighting mixed together. That's so good. Dude, animation is dope. I want to see what you're working on. Oh, cool. Well, I mean, like, when I say animation, I'm talking about usually, like, anime, but I actually want to, like, learn about, like, the overall process of animation creation and things like that. Like, I want, like, because one of the things is, like, that I've kind of developed as a skill. I've kind of been able to, like, learn, like, I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but like if you turn on like if you guys are really into anime, you can like go through a list of anime, pick a random anime, like, and then you start watching it for the first few episodes, and you can watch the overall like you can watch how the characters are drawn, the stylistic choices of like how they're drawn. And, like, you can watch, like, the overall, like, speed of the animation, like, how fast the animation reacts and does things. And, like, when you see it enough times and you start noticing that there are patterns, you can actually figure out what year the animation was produced in, based on, like, the quality of the animation, the stylistic choices, as well as, like, the power of the technology that they were using for animation at that time. And, like, I've actually started to get good at that, like, where I can, like, watch an anime that won't tell me the year. Or, like, I just, you know, like, I don't know right offhand about it. And I'll, like, watch it for, like, one episode, and I'll be like, this looks like this animation took place between 2012 and 2014. You know, those are the cutoff periods, because I know what animation looks like before 2011, and I know what animation looks like after 2014. And that's, like, the radius, you know? And, like, then I look up the animation, it's like, this was produced in 2013, and I was like, I knew it. Like, I knew it. I knew it was between that period of time, you know? And then, you know, you can definitely tell when it's, like, pre-2011, you know? Because that's when you get into the really sketchy stuff. But, yeah. Animation overall is very interesting to me. Hey, Cobalt! I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you earlier. Glad to have you in here. YouTube's my only online friend thing. I don't use Facebook. Yeah, I try to stay away from Facebook. I've been trying to use Twitter more. James P says, we're listening. The Spider-Girl vid was really cool. Like that one? Yeah, I did like that one as well. I put a lot of work into that one. I was really proud of it. The slime one, there aren't any spoilers in the slime one, I promise you. I actually knew that when I did that video that they were slow rolling the dubs. So I purposely kind of tried to explain things as best as I possibly could without revealing any spoilers for the slime video. So check it out. I'm pretty sure when I do these videos based on the animes that are currently in release, I've been trying really, really hard to explain my point of view without spoilers. And that's actually kind of tough, but, you know, it's something that I've been making an effort to do with these videos. Overanalyze all that animation stuff, like how'd they do that? Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, especially, like, one of the really interesting things is when you start studying the production studios. Some of them are really interesting, you guys. Like, some of the, like, it's a combination of, like, understanding, like, what studio did it, what their budget is, like, what animators they were using, and, like, who was directing it and who was producing it. And, like, when you start really getting into that stuff, it gets really interesting. And you start also being able to, like, recognize, like, what production studio is doing what anime based on, like, voice acting, stylistic choices, like, overall animation style. Like, it's really cool stuff. Like, I actually want to do some videos discussing very specific animation studios that have deeply fascinated me. One of them being Shaft. Shaft is one that I really want to do, like, a video about. Shaft is a really, really cool animation studio, definitely. A lot of it is Photoshop and Flash now. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any experience with Flash. I want to do Photoshop stuff. That is something that I'm going to eventually, probably in a few months or so. I'm going to be investing my time and money into Photoshop and trying to learn some things about using Photoshop properly. Like I said, like, I got this new job and things will probably settle down at that point. Scorpio Guy says, what is fun is when you see franchises that span more than one era of animation. Yeah, it's definitely interesting watching some animation studios kind of grow over time and watching how they change based on the times and technology. Shaft and Kyoto animation are interesting ones. Yeah, Shaft for sure. There's another one that I think is called, like, Bones. I think it's called Bones, and they are also a very interesting animation studio with some pretty nice experience behind their ears for sure. All right, let me kind of talk about social media, because good God, I've talked too much about other things. So I had this really interesting situation today where I was on Twitter and I got into a conversation on Twitter, and I had this moment where, like, I read a post and then, like, I posted my own opinion on it, and then I was responded to with what I believe was, like, how do I explain it? It was like as if, like the classic rule of, like, I'm angry that, like, so-and-so business did so-and-so, you know? And this is totally outrage and, like, not okay. And, like, my response was, like, you know, which was, like, oh, this product, like, shouldn't be sold at this price, and it's clearly a ripoff, and blah, 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 blah. And, like, my response was, like, and also they mentioned, like, not only was the product a ripoff and it was overpriced, but they also said that it should be sold as something that, like, it should be given up as something for free. And, like, my response to it was, why? Like, why do you think that a business, like, first of all, they first of all have the ability to release a product and release it at whatever price they want, okay? Like, that has nothing to do with you, right? But then on top of that, like, there's always a moment where a company can then, like, if they release something and it's, you know, a ripoff or should be seen as something that should be given away for free or whatever, your job as the customer is to not purchase it, right? So, like, if there are people that are going out and they're purchasing that item, clearly it's something that's desirable, and clearly the price is not a ripoff, right? So, like, you know, like, my response was basically that. Like, it's like, clearly it's a desirable product. Clearly people want it. And like, why should a business sell that thing as free? Like, why should they be giving that product away for free? Why do you think that it's okay for them to give that thing away for free? And like, that was kind of like my response. But then what I did, and this is like my main point to all this, is I then also started, like, I got in a huff. After I made that first post, I got into a real huff. And I started posting multiple points about exactly that. Where I was like, you know, like, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Like, the problem is not only the business, but it's also the people purchasing it. Like, the business is not solely to blame, because you also have the customers who are, like, giving up their money for it. So, like, clearly, like, there's fault on all sides. You can't say that the business is morally wrong because they're taking money from people who clearly want this product. That's not, like, unjust or whatever. And, like, I basically said, like, this is why, like, I hate this kind of stuff, and I got, like, really angry. And I basically tweeted out, like, 3 responses. And then what happened was, like, when I was posting, like, the 3rd response on this Twitter post, my dog wanted to go outside, right? And I was finishing up the post. And I basically sent the post, and I looked at my dog, who was ready to go outside, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, server. I was just, you know, angrily yelling on Twitter. And then, like, the moment that I said I was angrily yelling on Twitter, I was like, oh god, I've become one of them! No! I've become an angry Twitter poster! What am I doing? No! Like, why? I've become what I've hated! I've become the thing that I hate! I have lived long enough to see myself become the villain! Like, you know? And, like, no joke, right after I said that to my dog, like, I literally looked at my dog and said, I'm angrily yelling on Twitter. And, like, right after I said that to my dog, I, like, immediately grabbed my phone, quickly went on Twitter, and deleted all those posts. Like, I only left one of them on, and the only reason why I left one of them on was because it was the most neutral of all of them. Like, it was the least anger-involved one. It was a very neutral post. But all the angry ones, like, I did, like, 3 tweets that were, like, all angry with this response. And, like, I went on and I was like, no, I've become the problem. I am the angry Twitter jerkwad. You know? And I just, like, deleted all of them because I couldn't stand the idea that I was angrily yelling on Twitter. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy. And, like, I was like, oh my god, like, I can't believe that I did that. And, like, I try so hard to not do that, you know? I try so hard. And, like, I avoid most forms of social media, like, overall. By the way, hi, Carly. I just now saw you step in. But I'm doing pretty good, having a nice little stream here. Just kind of talking about social media a little bit, which was a topic that I really wanted to talk about. Because of exactly this, which was, like, you know, like, that's what really scares me about social media, you know? Like, first of all, like, I don't really ever want to be, like, an angry, you know, social media poster. I hate that stuff. I actively try to go way out of my way to, like, avoid it, which is also, like, why I was so freaked out about, like, those posts, was because I was like, I am becoming what I hate, you know? And, like, I don't want to be that guy. Like, I want to, like, immediately delete all that stuff, and that's what I did. And the fact that that's even possible is one of the reasons why, like, I find myself having such a hard time posting on social media at all. You know, like, it's so rough because, like, I don't, like, there's a combination of things going on. First of all, I don't want to be an angry social media poster. That's the worst. It's the worst. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't, like, if you want to go and do that, you know, you do you, and I'll do me, and we won't do each other. You know, like, that's fine. You go be you, and that's totally okay. But I don't want to be that. Like, and like I said, like, I went out of my way to delete those posts because I couldn't believe that I'd done that. And I have to, like, be extra wary about it now, too, because of the fact that I know that I'm capable of doing something awful like that. But another part of it, too, is that, like, when you get really passionate like, to do things like that, when you get super passionate about, like, posting those opinions or, like, getting angry at people online over stupid things like that, like, what then happens is you now have an online record of you saying something angry or stupid or just, like, not educated or arrogant or ignorant or whatever. Like, you now have, like, an online piece of information that anybody can access at any time, and then possibly in the future use against you based on God only knows what ridiculous direction we're headed in, you know, towards the future. And, like, knowing that that is, like, something that is constantly true all the time, it scares the hell out of me. And that's why I don't like social media, and that's why I'm super reluctant about using social media all the time, is because I'm never sure when something I might want to say at any given time could possibly be used against me in the future. And I mean, I know that it's very classic for people to say, well, just, like, you know, like, post things that, you know, are not angry, or post things that are not like that can get you into trouble. And, like, then my problem with that is, like, then I become, you know, a person that uses social media to say just boring things that nobody cares about. And I don't want to be that guy either, you know, because, like, I have to, like, it doesn't happen with me on Twitter as much. It happens more over on Facebook. When I filter through Facebook and I just see just the most boring things I've ever seen. Like, the worst is when somebody posts a meme that they think is funny, and you're just like, when do I laugh? Like, where's the haha? You know, like, where's the funny part? That's it? That's it? That's the whole meme? Like, where's the joke? You know, and, like, I'm always waiting for that, like, guy on Simpsons to kind of, like, step in and be like, that's the joke. Like, you know, like, what? Like, you know, and I don't want to be like that either. Like, I don't want to be posting things that are just, like, not funny. And, like, things that I do find funny are probably things that people, like, might be a little offended by. Like, I mean, I think you guys kind of know a little bit that I can be a troll sometimes. I kind of like, you know, saying things. Like, I love kind of saying things that make people kind of want to be upset. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I especially, it's like when I'm talking about, like, magic and stuff like that. Like, you guys can definitely see it. Like, when I say things like, you know, like, oh, like, I think Wizards of the Coast is a great business. And I think that they deserve every single dollar that they make. And I think that, you know, they're clearly always going in the right direction. Because, you know, when Wizards of the Coast can sit down and just print money and people will buy it. Like, they're, like, because here's the thing about Wizards of the Coast, you guys. If they were doing something wrong, people wouldn't buy it. You know? Because that's how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Wizards of the Coast was doing something that was egregious or wrong or not okay, then, I mean, you know, people are smart enough to not purchase things like that. You know? That's what I'm talking about. Like, I love doing stuff like that. Like, I love doing that kind of stuff. I love doing things that are, you know, kind of gonna upset people, or at least, like, my overall goal with that is I want to upset people in that way because I like to make them think in a humorous fashion, I guess. So I'll sometimes say things that, or not necessarily say things, but my sense of humor is more on the idea of, like, I'm trolling you, like, I'm baiting you to, like, be angry, you know, and that's the kind of humor that I have, and that's the kind of things that make me laugh overall. So, but I mean, you know, like, I don't have that particularly tame sense of humor, and so, like, when I see, like, people that are like, oh, these are the haha funny memes, and it's just like, they're just like the most boring things I've ever seen. Like, I can't even laugh at them. Like, you know, and it's like, whenever I go on Facebook, I'll like see like 5 posts and they're like, oh, isn't this funny? And I'm like, I'm done. I can't. Like, I'm so depressed by how unfunny you are that I have to get off of Facebook. I feel like luckily Twitter is not quite the same. I feel like I have a bit of a better control on Twitter with, you know, what kind of material pops up into my feed and things like that. So usually, like, a lot of the time, it's Twitter for me is, you know, just like, it's a lot of creators, like YouTube creators and things like that I enjoy. And I'm lucky enough that, you know, and it makes sense that a lot of the YouTube creators that I watch, you know, have a sense of humor that's very similar to my own. So therefore, it's very easy for me to kind of swipe down through the Twitter posts and be like, oh, you know, like, this one particular guy that I watch because I find him funny is posting something funny on Twitter that I can actually laugh at. So, you know, like, it's kind of like trying to find that area where it's like, I don't want to, like, say something that I'm going to regret and then have it used against me in the future. But, like, I also don't want to be boring or unfun, you know? And it's really tough for me to, like, be able to have something to say that is, you know, I don't know, like for example, I was on Carly's Twitter today, and, like, I liked what she had to say, so I hearted all of her, like, all the posts that I liked what she was saying. She was looking for feedback on her channel, and I gave my genuine opinion about it. Like, that stuff, like, I can, you know, comfortably do, you know, when I'm, like, trying to give somebody constructive criticism, or just, like, good ideas, or, you know, commending them for something that they're working on, or something that they said, or whatever. Like, I can do that genuinely and not have a problem with it. But, like, if I, like, it's just very hard for me to get my overall state of mind or thought process out to people that I think would either be on the level with them or at least interest them in some way. I obviously use Facebook and Twitter to kind of, like, advertise my channel. But other than doing that, it's genuinely kind of tough to, like, utilize it for much of any other purpose for me. I try to say something clever every once in a while, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a little more tough. It's a little more tough for me to do overall. So, I don't know how you guys feel about it in particular. I mean, I don't know if you guys are on my Twitter feed or how often you guys post or anything like that, whether it's, you know, Twitter or Facebook. I'm just not much of a poster, but I'm trying to, like, make excuses to do it. Like I said, like, that was one of the reasons why I went on to Carly's feed today and, like, posted stuff, is because, like, it's not necessarily getting my name out there so much. It's more of that I want to find the confidence in being able to post on social media, you know, because if I can build the confidence of, like, oh, I can say something on social media, you know, that'll make me more comfortable with everything that I want to utilize social media for, which is, you know, like I said, like, trying to, like, support my channel more or whatever. But I just have a lack of confidence for using social media. Like, I'm just, you know, other than, you know, when I'm here speaking to you guys on these streams, I just don't have a lot to say. I really don't. Like, that's why, like, I kind of come in, and when I do these streams, and I pick a subject, you know, like I said, like, I pick a subject, I set it up in the title, I kind of put it in the description, and then I kind of, like, I'm like, okay, well, I have a center subject that I want to talk about, and there are things that I'm interested in saying about that subject, but it also happens that, oh, well, things just kind of roll off my mind, and I just kind of, like, speak about them. Like, here I am talking about, you know, a discussion that I had with my father, or here I am talking about animation and, like, that stuff that interests me. So, like, I can talk about a bunch of different things that kind of roll off the top of my head, but it started with a primary subject, and I did eventually get into the main subject, which I'm clearly talking about right now. But when it comes to social media, it's not the same. You know, like I can't really, you know, when it comes to like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, especially Twitter, you can't really have like a very deep subject or thought process on any one particular thing. Like you can state an idea, or you can, you know, you can kind of like throw out a random emotion or feeling or thought that you have about a subject, but you can't really, you know, discuss anything. Twitter's not really made for that. Like, clearly, you know, they have their word limitations and all that. So like Twitter is not really a place where you can go and have a coherent discussion about anything in particular. It's just speaking a thought, like randomly, like throwing a random thought out there, or a random, you know, emotion or whatever. And like that's not something I do very much. I really don't. Because, you know, I'm more of a person that kind of really mulls over my ideas. I kind of try to, you know, think about things a little more carefully and then try to coherently come up. Like, I mean, you guys have seen my comments on YouTube, right? Like, I mean, every once in a while I can like say something silly or clever in just like a sentence or two. But a lot of the time, like, you know, if I'm watching a video that really gets, you know, my brain working, or that I think is really interesting or whatever, like, you guys have seen my, like, multi-paragraph comments that nobody reads, by the way. Like, so, like, I guess I can't say that you guys know what I'm talking about because people don't really read those comments. But, like, you know, that's just how my brain works. Like, I like to really... When I see like a really interesting subject on YouTube that, like, when I watch a video that really gets my brain working, I really want to discuss it. And that's when I actually post a comment. And then my comments end up being, you know, essays where I'm like writing like 3 to 4 paragraphs on a subject that they talked about in like a 10 or 15 minute video. You know what I mean? So, and that's, like I said, like, I can get away with that on YouTube, but nobody reads that shit, you know? Nobody reads them. And, like, it's literally impossible to do something like that on Twitter. And it feels like it's pointless to do it on Facebook. Because even though Facebook doesn't necessarily have the same kind of rules as Twitter, where you can only have, like, a certain amount of words or whatever, like... I don't know, Facebook just seems like it's the same beast, you know, where it's like it's all just pictures and then maybe a couple sentences. Sometimes you're lucky if you get a singular paragraph, and then it's like really unfunny memes or something like that, you know? Like, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate with me, and that makes it really tough because, like I said, like, the main focal point is that, like, I want to be more involved, you know? Like, a part of this is that, like, I want to properly build my community, you know? Like, I want to, like, really spend time with you guys, like, you know, and YouTube is great. Like, obviously, like, I have a nice little community going on here. I like hanging out with you guys. I love chit-chatting with you guys. It's a good time. But I want to have multiple, you know, areas where I can do that, you know, and Twitter and Facebook would be probably the 2 best ways to do something of that sort. But the problem is that I have to kind of overcome that, you know, social media communication barrier that I have for myself. And that's really tough because, you know, like I said, it's tough because I'm not really a person who communicates in singular sentences or just random thoughts or ideas or emotions and things like that. So it's definitely been kind of an interesting experience. But yeah, let me kind of check on something real quick here. Okay. I was just checking to make sure that the stream was doing fine because there was a weird moment there. Just wanted to make sure you guys were all still here. But yeah, and like I said, like the moment that I had this morning where I actually posted like 3 angry tweets in a row, I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, I can't, you know? And like, it makes me scared of the idea of like what social media could become for me if I really wholeheartedly went on that route. I am glad that I deleted those posts, and I mean, honestly, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you might see me do that every once in a while. You might see me do that every once in a while because like it's not that I'm scared of what people think about me. It's more about reflecting on myself that I do things like that, you know? It's that, like, I mean, obviously, like, I don't want things that I post to be taken out of context. I don't want something to be used against me in the future to, like, get me in trouble or something like that. But it's more of, like, me trying to make sure that I have control over my own emotions and making sure that I'm not, you know, saying things that could endanger me, you know? So I don't know. I definitely want to be more communicative. I think, like, one thing that I've been thinking about doing more often is kind of, like, I wanted to kind of, like, start using Twitter to kind of, like, talk more about animation. Kind of, like, every once in a while, like, I've done it a couple times already where I will get on Twitter real quick and I'll be like, hey, like, I'm watching this anime, you know, like, this is what I'm watching, and then, like, sometimes I'll, like, say a random thought of, like, what I think of it so far. But I've also been kind of lazy on that, and I haven't, you know, like, done that with every anime. Like, I've actually already steamrolled through a few anime. One thing that, and I would love if Carly could speak up about this, it's fine if you can't, though, is, because I think that she uses this, and I've been, like, recommended to use it a few times. I found out about, I think it's called, like, My Anime List or something like that, where I haven't really used it at all. Like, I haven't even looked it up yet, to be honest. Like, I was actually mulling over this idea yesterday because I was watching a podcast that was talking about My Anime List a lot. And they were basically saying how they utilize it for the purpose of keeping track of every anime they've ever watched, writing down thoughts about it, giving it a rating score and things like that. And that allows them to, like, because it was a podcast and they were YouTubers who watch anime and stuff like that. They use that information to kind of help them, what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of use that information to help them kind of accumulate their ideas about an anime better when they're in the process of, like, making a video or content or something like that. And that was really something that I was thinking about doing. I think that maybe if I kind of used a website of that sort to kind of, you know, and it is technically a form of social media, because if I remember correctly, I think the overall concept of it is that it's a public, it's a website where you can publicly look up different users of it, and you can basically, like, read their opinions on anime and, like, their rating scores and things like that. And it just seems like that it's like a social media that's only dedicated to anime watchers. And that seemed like it might be something that I'd really like to utilize. But like I said, I don't know enough information about it. I think Carly uses it. I think she's mentioned that she's used it a few times. So that might be something I might be interested in trying to utilize. Maybe after the stream I'll look it up and see, you know, how useful it is. Because one thing that I noticed that really kind of annoyed me recently, I looked up an anime that I had already seen, like, within the last few months or so, and I didn't remember anything about it at all. Like, I had to literally watch, I think I watched, like, the first, like, 3 or 4 episodes before I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this one, and not only have I seen it, I saw this, like, 4 or 5 months ago, which, by the way, right off the bat, should tell you guys that anime is not good. Like, I kind of, like, am starting to realize that one thing that can dictate how good an anime is how forgettable it is. Like, so even thinking about it now, I can't even remember what anime it was. It was definitely an isekai. but it was so forgettable. It was so forgettable, you guys. I had to watch like 3 or 4 episodes of it before I was like, I've seen this. And it was just so funny to me because, you know, like you have your animes where it's like, you know, oh my god, this is so great, I'll never forget it. And then you have your animes that are like, oh my god, it's so terrible, I'll never forget this, you know, because it's so awful. And then you have, like, I think the worst animes ever are the ones that are like, they're not bad, and they're not good, and nothing about the anime stands out at all. Like, it's just the most forgettable experience you've ever had. Like, and that happened to me with this anime, and I had to, like, watch multiple episodes of it before I was like, wait a minute. So, my point of saying that is that, I'm worried that that'll happen to me again, because I have definitely watched a few animes that are just the most forgettable experience ever. Like, absolutely just, like, so forgettable that I can't even remember them right now while I'm trying to recall them. But I would like, my point is that they're so forgettable that it would be nice to have a website, like I mentioned, My Anime List or something. Like I said, I don't know anything about it. I haven't used it. But if it is what I think it is, then I would love to have something like that so that I can properly record me having watched each anime and then giving it a score, talking about it, whatever, and then basically having the opportunity to be like, okay, I will remember that I had watched it. That way I don't have to remember that it was a forgettable experience and then accidentally rewatch it again, you know? So that's something that I definitely am interested in. And like I said, if it is, like I think it might be kind of like a social media platform a little bit. Just based on the, you know, the basic information that I have about it. It seems like it might be a social media platform. And if there was a way to utilize it as one, that might be something I could get into, because like I said, I definitely kind of need to utilize social media better overall. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm definitely... See, I was just thinking about, like, I definitely plan to use Twitter more. I'm trying really hard with it. And that's something, like, Twitter, I think, is something that if I can properly wrap my head around it and overcome the barrier of, you know, being uncomfortable with posting something on Twitter, then that could definitely be something I can get behind. Facebook seems more of a challenge, though. Something about it, like, see, like, Twitter, I feel like that I can go on and I can handpick everything that I look at. And I can just kind of scroll through it and then stop every once in a while and be like, oh yeah, like, you know, like, blah, blah, blah posted this, and that's like, you know, that looks like some nice art that I would genuinely be interested in. Or, oh, here's an anime suggestion that I really like. Or, oh, like, you know, one of my friends is doing this, and that's actually something that I really like, you know, like, that's kind of cool. But, like, with Facebook, it's so hard for me to really want to do anything with it. It really is. Like, and it's just because I don't know. It's just, every time I can spend sometimes, you know, I want to say maybe at the most, I feel like when I go through Twitter, I can be on it for about 10 or 15 minutes, which is really impressive for me. Like, because I really don't use social media. Like, YouTube, I'm on all the time. I'm literally on YouTube constantly. But Twitter I can be on for 10 or 15 minutes, and that's pretty good. That's a lot of time for me to be on Twitter. Facebook is like, I'm on it for like 1 minute. Like 1 minute. And I see like 2 posts that I'm just like I see 2 posts when I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I'm just like, I'm done. Like, that's it. I'm over it. Like, I don't need to look at Facebook for the rest of the day. I'm totally over it. That's fine. I'm done. I don't need it anymore. Like, like, you know, I'll look at one post and I'm like, that is the most that is the most arrogant shit I've ever seen in my life. I'm over it. Like, I don't want to communicate with it. I don't want to acknowledge that it exists. Like, and it sucks because, like, it just, like, I don't know. It's Twitter and Facebook are different kinds of beasts, I really feel like. And because Facebook allows more context into what somebody's thinking about or trying to do or something like that, you know? And it's like when I see like a Twitter post that is like uneducated, like it doesn't come across the same way as a Facebook post that's uneducated. Because it's like a Twitter post that's uneducated is like 2 or 3 sentences, and you can just quickly ignore it and like move on. But, like, a Facebook post that's uneducated is, like, somebody posts, like, a page of information that's just, like, the most ignorant shit I've ever seen. And, like, it's impossible to miss, and there's so much of it. And you're just like, why? Like, why? Because it's like, a part of it for me is like not understanding how people are not able to understand what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, because like when I see something that's like really ignorant, it's sometimes ignorant in the sense of like it doesn't necessarily offend me, but it's clear that it's offensive to somebody. Or or at least it's offensive to like a group of people or something like that. And it's like as if like and not necessarily saying offensive in the sense of like racism or sexism or something like that. Like that's not what I mean. I mean it's like somebody who's, you know, posting their particular opinion about a subject and then not even comprehending that that very particular opinion is deeply offensive to like a group of people that definitely exist, like, you know. And it's like I'm cool with like sharing opinions and all that. Oh, cool. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why that is that gonna glitch out? Yeah, it looks like it glitched out. That's okay. All right. Yeah, I did get a new subscriber today. Thank you. It's just a weird delayed response. I guess Streamlabs is having a rough time today. That happens sometimes, guys. But yeah, I did get a new subscriber, so thank you. I appreciate that. I know that that particular thing was a little bit delayed, but that's okay. Thank you so much. Shout out to Lily, I guess. Thank you. But anyways, the thing that really bugs me is like the idea that they can't like put themselves into another person's shoes. Now, I want to also once again clarify that this is not saying that people need to be offended for every single person out in the world, because that's just ridiculous. I really think that that's just ridiculous. But when you go out of your way to post an opinion that can clearly be deemed offensive to like public eyes around you, especially in a public area like, you know, Facebook, like I'm like, what are you doing? You know, like what are you doing? Like that's super not okay. And I feel like that when I'm on Facebook I see it everywhere, you know, like I mean, oh man, it really, like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And it's like they don't have the, not the word sympathy, it's, they lack empathy. It's the complete and utter lack of empathy. It's like, when a lot of the time my problem with Facebook is the idea that people post things on Facebook and just can't comprehend the idea that there are people out there that, you know, your overall idea or opinion lacks empathy for. And I feel like it's so blatant and like in your face. And like I said, it's not about being offended for everybody. That's not what this is about. Because like I said, like I'm not somebody who will go out and scream at the top of my lungs like, you know, like this is not okay, like you're doing the wrong thing, like, you know, and making them feel bad. But what I do is when I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay, well, I respect you less. Like I don't, like if I meet you in public, I don't want to communicate with you, you know, like I know exactly who you are. It's very clear to me that you lack empathy for these people, and you don't care because you publicly talk about it online in that fashion. So I don't want anything to do with you, you know? And like that's something that I just have the roughest time with Facebook, is because I feel like I can literally be on Facebook for like a minute. Like 1 minute. Less than 1 minute. And I feel like I can always see those posts all the time. And like, I don't want to just be randomly deleting people off my Facebook either. Like, because, you know, like, if I see, the thing is like, if I see somebody who's being genuinely super offensive, like if I see blatant racism or sexism or anything like that, you're gone. You're gone. Like, you know, like I will remove you from my Facebook page. I will like unfriend you or whatever the hell it's called. I will remove you from my Facebook page. If you are blatantly racist or blatantly sexist or blatantly homophobic or any of that stuff, like I will remove you from my Facebook. But if you're just like a person who is stating opinions that are like not offensive, but that are clearly uneducated or arrogant or anything like that, I'm not going to remove you because you're not offending me or people that I communicate with. I won't remove you for that, but what I will do is remember in my brain to not communicate with you in person. Like, I will know that, like, I will, you know, I will be more than happy to be, you know, generally nice in your general area. Like, you know, I can do that. I can, you know, say good morning. I can say good night. You know, I can do the, like, you know, like, see you tomorrow. Like, I can do stuff like that. But I'm not going to communicate with you on a genuine level because clearly you have weird problems. You're ignorant or arrogant or whatever. And I don't want to deal with it. So it's just very strange to me that people just do that. And I mean, I guess like I said, like, I mean, that's part of like why I'm probably so quiet on social media, is simply because I also not only think that way when I read other people's posts, but I also think that way, you know, in the process of evaluating anything that I post. Like I said, like, I'm worried that I might offend somebody, so I try not to. Or, you know, I'm worried that something would be used against me, so I try not to. And then next thing I know, I'm just not posting anything, you know? I never post on Facebook other than when I'm streaming or doing a video. I try to post on Twitter, but I try to be really careful. And like I said, I had that whole situation where I deleted a bunch of posts this morning because, and like I said, like, I don't think that the posts that I made today on Twitter would really hurt anybody, but it was more about me coming to terms with who I was from posting that information. And I was like, in my mind, that's not okay. So I need to delete this. And that's just how it's going to be. So, but yeah, it's very weird. I will try to communicate more on social media. I'm really trying. Feel free to reach out to me. Like, my information about Twitter or Facebook is down below. Highly recommend you communicate with me on Twitter. That's like definitely the better way to keep in touch with me right now. Like I said, I've been going on to Carly's feed and kind of like, you know, communicating with her and keeping track of what she's up to and things like that. So, you know, if you really want to chat with me every once in a while, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter. It's fun. Like, legitimately, like I'm finding myself... I did see that for a second there, Pink Peacock. I didn't read it all the way, but I read a brief second of it, so I'll communicate with you in just a second about what I think I saw. But yeah, hit me up on Twitter. It's a good time. I did notice that Pink Peacock mentioned that he's losing motivation for streaming. So like honestly, like don't feel bad about that. I'm not gonna like make you feel bad about that or anything like that because it's nothing to feel bad about. And what I would suggest is you might know that I think it was you that made me say this earlier when I was talking about it, was I mentioned that I have days, guys, where I think about streaming and then realize I don't want to. And usually what comes from that is when I have those moments of like, oh, maybe I should stream, and it's like, nah, like I'm super not in the mood right now. What I do instead is I move myself into different kinds of efforts. So like maybe if you're not in the mood to like do a stream, maybe record a video, or maybe edit a project you were already working on, or there's multiple, like, streaming is just one avenue. It's just one way of creating content on your channel. So I mean, you don't necessarily need to be motivated to do streaming. Like you can be if you can just redirect that passion, is what I'm saying. Like maybe in one particular day you're not passionate about streaming, but maybe you're passionate about making a video, or maybe you're passionate about editing a video, or maybe you're passionate about collecting data about a project or a video or a stream. Like for example, like there are some days where I don't even want to, like, I don't want to stream, I don't want to edit, I don't want to work on a project, but what I do is I say, well, you know what, today's going to be a data gathering day, where like all I'm going to do is collect information about a video or a stream or something. So like for example, like I've had days where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to collect data. I'm going to look up a game that I want to play for a stream, or look up a game that I want to play for a video, or maybe I'm going to do some research on an anime that I wanted to do a video about, or maybe I'll research, like I was talking about translation over transcription. Like I did some research about that because I was like, okay, like this could be useful in the future for producing content. So it's just that, like, as long as the overall point I'm making is that it doesn't need to be that you need to be motivated to do a stream or motivated to do a video. If you're motivated to create content, or if you're motivated to like be creative, as long as you're going down a route or avenue that is going to, in the end game, produce content of some sort for you, then that's the way to be about it. Like, you don't need to stream. There's plenty of different options you have at your access. It's kind of like the idea of, like, there are times in life where it feels like that you don't have a lot of options. Like you feel like that you only want, like you feel like that you are focused on one particular thing, and being focused on that one thing means that there's only one door to be able to go through. But sometimes what you have to do is you have to take a step back from that and realize that if you go backwards a little bit, you can realize that there's actually a lot of doors open to you. Like I said, like you're focused on streaming, so it's like when you're focused only on streaming, you're realizing that the choices are yes stream, no stream. Yes stream, no stream. But if you say streaming is a route for being a content creator, you can then take a step backwards from streaming and instead look at your options as a content creator, and then realize, oh, there's making a video, there's editing a video, there's also streaming, there's also research gathering, there's also like this and this, like there's all these paths. And then sometimes maybe those ones are kind of scary to you too. So then you can say, okay, well, you know what? Let's take another step back. Maybe it's not content creation. Maybe it's being creative. Content creation is another door into being creative. So if you take a step back from content creation and you say, what can I do to be creative? You're like, okay, well, maybe music, maybe painting, maybe art, maybe digital, artwork, maybe, crafting something like, like maybe metalwork or wood crafting, and you can look at all sorts of things that you're interested in, and then you can go down that route, and then you say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe today I feel like painting. And then you go down the route of painting and you open that door up and then realize that, wait, painting is also content creation. Like, I could paint something on my own and sell that, and that's content creation that I can, distribute. Or maybe I can paint something while recording myself. Or maybe I can paint something while streaming. Or maybe I can, and there's always options for you. As long as you're motivated to, do those things. And it doesn't matter how many steps back you have to go, because what you're going to do is, like I said, streaming is one door, yes or no. But you can take yourself backwards and realize that there are more options for you. There are more doors. There are more routes you can go down. So just, and maybe it's overall and I'm not saying you need to stop completely, but also maybe if you find yourself finding it harder to go down each different route and everything feels not right to you, it might also be a good idea to just step way, way back and kind of think about, is this even something I really want to do? Now, that's not saying that you need to quit or stop or anything like that, but it might be a moment where you can kind of reflect and say, what am I genuinely passionate about? What really motivates me? What do I want to create? Or do I want to relax? Or do I want to work? Or, sometimes maybe going way, way back and really reflecting on everything can sometimes be really helpful. And sometimes you'll be surprised that it could take you down a different door that you didn't know. For example, maybe you're having a really rough time with content creation overall and being creative. So you step way, 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 way back, and then you realize, okay, well, maybe work, right? Maybe it's a work thing. And then you instead go down the work route, and you get further into that. And then next thing you know, you go down enough options for that and it feels right. And then next thing you know, going down the work route built a gigantic career for yourself that you can live off of for the rest of your life. So you never know, but you have to be comfortable with being able to move backwards and think about it. And each time that you feel you're being restricted, take another step back and look at it again, because you'll be surprised that each time you go backwards, you're going to realize there are options. There are choices to be made, but it's up to you to find out where you're most comfortable and where you genuinely belong. And your emotions will tell you that. Like I said, streaming feels wrong. So step back from it, look at the other options. And then you look at those options and you say, this feels wrong. Those are your emotions basically telling you that this is not the right spot. So you just have to keep going backwards until you say, wait a minute, I do want to do video creation. Or you know what? I do want to make music. Or, you know what? Maybe I do want to focus on work more. Or, it's having that moment where it clicks with you and it feels right. Because it's not about just getting something done. It's about getting something done and feeling good about it and knowing that you're doing a good job. It's about finding what you're good at, feeling good about doing that thing that you're good at, and properly appreciating yourself for being able to do those things. So Pink Peacock says, yeah, I've seen your growth. I hit a wall. I think I streamed too late. It's just one way, right? You seem to be into isekai. Have you watched Konosuba? Yes, I have. I have watched Konosuba. That was a good one, but that was before I was doing anime content. Maybe what I'm it's funny because I was actually watching a video today that was for a short period of time talking about Konosuba. So you know what? I'll take that as a sign that maybe I should rewatch Konosuba and do a video about it. So there's a few videos that I really, really want to create about animes. I'm planning on doing a anime video series where that are specifically dedicated to animes that are older. So like I want to kind of like try and keep up with the trendy animes, you know, the animes that are popular right now. But I also kind of want to do a series about animes that are a bit older as well, and kind of be... I already kind of have a title for it, I'm thinking, which is I mean, it's a work in progress. I haven't really laid down 100% foundation for it yet, but I've been planning a lot of things, doing a lot of research. I have an idea to name the series Better Late Than Never. And because I want to talk about there's an anime that I want to talk about that was produced in 2017. There's an anime that I want to talk about that was produced in like 2014. So like, it's like those animes are way late, and they don't kind of really follow up on the trendy animes that are really popular right now. So I thought it would be really kind of cool to kind of do a series that I'm temporarily calling Better Late Than Never, that basically just kind of follows down older animes and maybe talks about them a little more thoroughly. I'm not 100% sure yet. This was an idea that I came up with yesterday. I've been brainstorming it a bit and kind of researching it a bit. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. But one of the things that has been kind of surprising to me is ever since I kind of made the choice to put in an effort to kind of like do more anime related content, I find myself having more ideas and opportunities for content creation lately. Like genuinely. I discussed it in the stream, the lounge stream called I Wanna Be Weeb. I was basically discussing that one of my struggles that I was dealing with was I was relying a lot on gameplay, and I was having a rough time being creative with my content overall. And, you know, I felt like that the gaming stuff was kind of, me going between gaming stuff and other kinds of content, it was very mishmash and messy. And I also was finding that the more I played games, the less interested in creating that content was for me. And it was kind of bothering me a lot. And when I started doing the anime videos, it really kind of started, I know that the big one was the Mushoku Tensei video. But before that, when I really started to recognize that this was something I really wanted to do, was when I did the anime villains video. That was the official point where I was like, you know what? I really genuinely enjoy doing this. And I should definitely kind of think about going harder on it. And then the Mushoku Tensei video was like, okay, this is something I have to do. The Mushoku Tensei video was the one where I was like, this is something I want to do, and I don't want to, lose myself from it. And now that I've made a genuine effort to kind of go harder on this route about talking about animation and, studying it and learning more about it, I find myself researching because I'm genuinely interested, and talking about it because I'm genuinely passionate about it, and and learning things about it, learning about the year in which an anime was created, and why it was made the way that it was, and what production studio created it, and what writers and voice actors are working on it. I genuinely find it really cool, and I want to do material on it. So it's been a really interesting road where I've kind of had to experiment and try things and realize that I wasn't really going the exact right way, but maybe this way will be different, and maybe it'll feel better because I'm already enjoying what I'm doing more so than I did before. So the first portion of it was realizing that I liked making content. And I did talk about that a lot before, where I was like, I just want to be on YouTube making content. What that content is, I have no idea, but I like doing it, so we'll see what happens. And then I went through a period where it's like, okay, well, here's some video game stuff. Here's some, not video game stuff where I'm, doing, I did the Cadbury Cream Egg video, which I thought was hilarious, and some other people thought was hilarious. I did a podcast video, a legit podcast. I did, Obviously, I'm doing all the vlogs. I did some animation videos, like talking about animation. I've just been trying lots of different things to see where I'm most comfortable. And now I feel like that, okay, well, the anime videos feel right. So since that feels right and it feels like it has potential, now I'm going to focus on that. So like, got past the realization that I love content creation, got past, you know, trying all sorts of different things. And now what I'm working on is focusing on something that I think I genuinely enjoy. So that's where I'm at right now, and we'll see where it goes. Oh, and Pink Peacock, it's all good, homie. I really hope that things work out for you, buddy. I know it's tough. I know those moments happen where, you know, like, you're not really sure what the hell you're doing. Because trust me, listen, I'd be lying to you guys if I said I never have those moments. I do. I genuinely have moments where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, do I want to make videos? Do I want to stream? Like, what the hell am I doing? Well, how am I going to do it? Like, why am I doing it? You know, and having those moments, like I said, where you kind of like take a step back and reflect, doing that really personally helps me out. So I kind of hope that, you know, hearing that might help you out in your own special way as well. Konosuba is hilarious. I agree. It's like, Konosuba is very self-aware, and I love that. And all the bad stuff that happens to the characters is deserved because they're all kind of assholes. Yes, I remember that. One of the best descriptions that I ever heard, and I totally agree with, about Konosuba is basically what would happen if It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was an isekai. And I totally agree with it. I totally agree with that, because one of the things I love about, like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is it's a show about people that are just the worst human beings on the planet, and you're just watching terrible, awful things happen to them, but they always deserve it. And I would agree, Konosuba is basically the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia isekai. Now I was thinking Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, Space Base, old. So yeah, I have not seen Trigun. I've had it recommended to me. I have watched most of Cowboy Bebop. I think, let me see, what episode did I leave off on? I'm checking the page real quick. Oh, it's not in here, is it? It's probably in my older bookmarks, isn't it? I have so many anime bookmarks. It's cluttering my bookmark page. Episode 20. Okay, so the last episode of Cowboy Bebop that I left off on was episode 20. So that's where I'm at. I have watched 19 episodes of Cowboy Bebop. It's not that I gave up on it. I do plan to come back to it. But what happened was I stopped watching Cowboy Bebop because I was trying to watch other animes that took priority over it. And I haven't really had the chance to go back and finish watching it. Overall, from watching 19 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, I can say that I like it. I like Cowboy Bebop. Now, here's the thing. Is Cowboy Bebop a masterpiece? No, it's not. It's not the greatest anime I've ever seen. It's not a masterpiece. It's very good. It's very good. It has great music. The animation style is quite amazing for its time. The voice acting is surprisingly good for its time. It's definitely like one of those higher quality animes for the time period it came out in. Definitely impressive. It's not a masterpiece. It's not like the greatest anime I've ever seen of all time. But I am enjoying it. Like, that's all I can really say, is that I do enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's terrible, ever. But I wouldn't say it's like this godsend of anime, you know? I've never seen Trigun. I don't know what Space Base is. I've never heard of that. Scorpio Guy says, I mean, if you don't periodically ask yourself, what the hell am I doing, then you aren't living. I agree with that. Problem is if you do that so frequently to the detriment of yourself. Yeah, like if you're not getting anything done. I totally agree with that. There was actually, it's really interesting. A while ago, and sadly it doesn't really exist anymore, it was deleted for reasons. There was a video by a content creator that I heavily respect, that really fascinated me and kind of like changed my perspective on a lot of things. It literally changed my perspective on life in general. And that content creator basically was saying that he realized over time that one of the most powerful things that a human being can do is the process of creating something. And he basically further explains, like, because, usually it's not 100% true all the time, but the process of creating something outside of yourself is something, it's basically a, how do I explain it? It's like a immortal thing. As weird as that sounds, it's like, that's not exactly how he explained it, but it's basically the idea of creating a legacy, like, past yourself, that like has the possibility of outliving you, is the process of creation, and having that creation be beneficial in some way to people outside of yourself. And like, he explains, like, that's one of his driving factors as a content creator, is like, he knows that the majority of his content, for the most part, will probably outlive him. I mean, he's a very large content creator anyways. But he basically explains, like, those creations will outlive him, and they provide entertainment to people outside of himself. And he's aware that, even if over time the audience that it reaches will dwindle, he also is capable of understanding and realizing that the content that he creates will in some way be passed on to future generations way longer after he's dead. And I mean, he even explains that, like, it's not even just content creation. Like, it's, people who, revolutionize, business industries, the creation of, new kinds of industries, machines that change people's lives, just the process of creation in general is something that is, really powerful to human beings. And like, it, as long as you work really hard on it, and, you kind of like make an effort to create something that you're passionate about and that other people can enjoy or benefit from in some way, is probably one of the most powerful things that a human being can do in their lifespan. And like, I mean, I really bastardized the way that he explained it, but I also can't recommend you the video because I also know that the video where he talks about it doesn't exist anymore. It was deleted a long time ago. But the point is that video, that explanation that he gave, really impacted me. It really changed me in a way where I was like, I want to do something like that. It's not that I need to be as big as he is as a content creator. Like, that's not the point. The point is the ability of, like, creating something, sharing it with other people, and then those people can enjoy or benefit from it in some way. Like, for example, like, I have 6 people in here right now who are consuming the content of just me sitting here and speaking to them. And that is me creating something for you to consume and enjoy and, take wherever you want with you. Like, maybe the words that I'm speaking impact you in some way. Maybe they, change your thought process on something. Or maybe, they'll share them with other people. Or, anything like that. Like, that's making an impact outside of myself, greater than myself. And in its own way, it's a creation that is immortalized past me, if you understand what I mean by that. So, and like, I take that really seriously, like, because that's like what I want to do is like the process of creation is kind of something that, I really want to do in general. And then I kind of just have to focus it and understand it and, hone it and be better at it. And, that it takes work, it takes time. And I mean, the point is, though, is that, like, I have an audience and they're already, enjoying that material in that way from me. So, like, knowing that I have an audience of some kind that is doing, consuming that information or that process of creation makes me want to continue doing it. Like, yes, having a bigger audience would be great, and I do plan to kind of keep growing the audience, but the point is that I have an audience. I do. And I have to keep creating things for them to kind of enjoy and like, past me. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm kind of like losing my ability to say the right words about this particular subject, but it's because it's kind of a complex idea. It's like, it's just like, the process of creation is a pretty powerful thing. And, like, we strive for it. Like, we're always doing it, whether we realize it or not. And it's like, even if you're just, like, working, a stereotypical 9-to-5 job, like, you're still in the process of creating something. Like, you're creating a service, Or, like, you're creating some kind of product that's being sold in a company, or, whatever that may be. Like, you're doing it. But the thing is understanding that provides substance beyond yourself is pretty powerful. And, like, when you can fully recognize that, it makes you, like, a more powerful person, because then you kind of, like, once you can recognize that, you're designed to create things, and you're always in the process of creation, but it's kind of like how you hone it and where you take it that really matters. It makes you a more powerful person, and it kind of allows you to step outside of yourself and see how that's affecting people around you, and the environment around you and things like that, which is, I think it's pretty important. I really do. And I think it's a really powerful thing. I actually sometimes, for anybody who doesn't know, I'll just go ahead and say, because I'm not afraid about it. Like, I watch some pretty large content creators. The content creator I'm talking about is the YouTube famous Markiplier. When Markiplier and Ethan, Crank Gameplays, were doing Unis Honest, I was part of that. I was watching, like, every video that they produced. I did keep up with it. Usually what I did was I would skip a bunch of days and then binge a bunch of their videos after a period of time. And I even, on the last few days, rewatched my favorite ones. And the reason why I bring that up is because there was an Unis Honest video that is long gone. I believe it was when they were doing, if I remember correctly, they were doing the camping arc. They did a series of videos where Mark and Ethan went out and did camping. And they did a bunch of different skits that were all very fun and silly. But on the very last day of their camping trip, they did a video where they sat in front of, like, a lake or a pond, and they were just kind of skipping stones, and they were kind of, like, reflecting on, like, who they were as people and what they did and why they did it. And there was a long discussion about, like, from Mark specifically talking to Ethan, talking about the process of creation and why he's so obsessed with it, and, why he does what he does, and, how that affects him as a person, and how it affects all the people that he, makes content for every day. And that video deeply affected me. I'll never forget it. It literally, like, I almost want to say that very specific video changed my life, and, like, how I see, how I understand content creation on YouTube, and, how I believe it affects people no matter what the size of the audience is, whether it's 6 people here right now, or whether it's, 100 million people subscribe to PewDiePie. You know what I mean? Like, it's, the process of creation is just a really big deal, and it's amazing sometimes that people don't reflect on it more and think about, like, sometimes when you're doing something, it doesn't seem like it matters, but it affects people a lot more than you would expect, you know? It's kind of like going back to my previous topic, which was, you know, like talking about Facebook. Like, posting stuff on Facebook is the process of creation. You know, you're taking your thoughts and ideas and you're presenting it into a piece of information that people can go on Facebook and consume and absorb and reflect on. And that's another reason why that kind of stuff bothers me in the way that it does, is because, you know, you've created something and you haven't really thought about the consequences in that sense, you know? And now you're affecting people possibly in a negative way that, you know, you weren't thinking about because you didn't realize that you took your, you know, arrogant or ignorant emotions or opinions and breathed life into them. So, you know, it's just... It's kind of a big deal. And I mean, you know, we're always creating things, and I think it's that, you know, we should have the time to kind of reflect on it more and really put our all into it and just, you know, I don't know. It's kind of weird to think about, but I do have to, I'm going to go ahead and read a few comments, and then I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hell for Gamers, glad to have you in here, buddy. I am going to wrap it up, though, so thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hell for Gamers says, the chill music makes me want to hear Incubus. Aqueous Transmission, that's the one with the whales in the background. I remember that one. Me and my friends were very much into Incubus back in the day. Yeah, they're pretty good. I love the music that I've been listening to lately for my videos, in fact, and my streams. In fact, I even listen to it on my free time because I think it's so good. So yeah, this is music that I can play for my streams and my videos, and I don't get in trouble for it. And I've even contacted the creators of the music and chatted with them a little bit, and they were very nice and very professional, and they said, yeah, like, I basically talked to them and I said, hey, like, I know I'm not in trouble for using your music, but I wanted to contact you guys, let you know that I'm using your music, and I greatly appreciate the fact that you're letting me use it. And they're like, oh yeah, it's all good, like, don't worry about it, totally fine. And so yeah, so that's why I got the nice music playing in the background now. Noob Gets Even, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry, but I do have to wrap this up. Okay. Hell for Gamers is dipping out. That's good timing, I guess. Ratherwood says, I feel odd sharing my stuff. I don't want to be that guy that's like, check out my song, game art, etc. Well, it's not necessarily, and this is something that I'm also coming to terms with because my father has been a little upset about me. Upset at me about it. He thinks that I need to, he thinks that I am not getting myself out there enough into the public eye, and he's been trying to get me to do more so. He wants me to be a lot more expressive about my wonderful links, which are down in the description below. And things like that. But the thing is that also what my dad said about it, and I would also say to you, Wrath of Wood, is there's nothing wrong with it. You know, like, if you're providing a service or, you know, if you're creating something for people to enjoy, then, you know, it's up to you to get the word out that you're doing those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, you know, don't be so hard on yourself, because, you know, I do the same thing where it's like, oh, I don't think this is good enough to distribute, but it is, you know, like, it is. And there's, like, we're in a day and age where there's an audience for everything out there. So, you know, you got to give yourself a chance to see, you know, with the amazing internet that we have and how wide it spreads out, you know, you'd be surprised that you probably do have an audience and you just haven't realized it yet. And it's up to you to kind of go out there, distribute what you do, and see what kind of audience you build from it, you know? I do have to wrap this up, guys. This was a 2-hour stream. It didn't seem like the hour-long stream I did last time made all that much of a difference, so I think I kind of like doing the 2-hour streams where I just kind of talk about whatever, so I think that'll probably be a normal thing. 2 hours always feels pretty appropriate for me to get my opinions out there and kind of talk about whatever and hang out with you guys, so hope you guys don't mind the longer 2-hour time. I mean, I'm probably just going to keep up with it unless I feel like there's a reason to shorten it down to an hour or so, but we'll see. But anyways, I'm going to say all the wonderful things that I always say, which is, guys, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. I super duper appreciate it. Hit that notification bell. I did get a new subscriber today, which was super, super cool, and I love it. We're building a pretty nice little audience here, which I absolutely adore. Love all of you guys. This was kind of like, you know, I got to talk about you guys a little bit too, and how much I appreciate my audience, so if you're not already subscribed, come on in and join us. We have a good time. Go ahead and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. It lets you guys know when I'm going to be live like this, or if I'm going to be releasing videos about anime, mostly, probably, and maybe some other things. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button while you're at it. I really appreciate it. Smash it. Destroy it. Show that thumbs up button that you are the boss, and you have the power to show how much you like this stuff. So go ahead and hit that smashing, beautiful thumbs up button. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about social media, the direction of the channel. Maybe you want to talk about anime. Let me know down in the description below. Always appreciating those let me know in the comments below. You can't touch the description. I don't even know why I said that. So go ahead and leave a comment below. I super appreciate it. And like I mentioned before, check in the description below for all of my wonderful links. Streamlabs, PayPal, donations are greatly appreciated. There's all sorts of other fun little things down there. And I'm going to give a wonderful shout out to my wonderful Patreon members who always I'm appreciative of, and they do amazing things by, you know, paying me on a regular basis, which is super duper nice. And you know what? I had a Patreon member leave recently, and that's totally okay, because they went ahead and explained to me that, you know, times are rough. And you know what? I just want to let you guys know, that's okay. Like, as a person who has had to deal with some financial struggles myself, it's okay if you have to leave. I'm not going to be offended by it. I know you're still going to enjoy my content. That's the main thing that I really appreciate about you guys, is you can enjoy my content. You're not required to pay for it, so don't worry about it, okay? But I will say that I do want to give a shout out to my wonderful Patreon members who I do still have, which are the amazing Ya Boy Lettuce, the wonderful Mr. Bo Falcon, the really cool Mr. Fajouk Enterprises, the rad as hell James P, and also the lovely Miss Rebecca. Thank you all so much. I greatly appreciate you guys. You're wonderful Patreon members. You treat me so well. I will see y'all later. Have a great night, you guys. Take it easy. Be safe. All those wonderful things. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Oh, and by the way, of course, guys, follow your dreams. Clearly.